beginning this interview, let's talk about Superman. Were you a fan of Superman, growing up? And if so, do you remember like your first introduction to the world of Superman? Like, was it through the comics, the TV show, or any of the films?
Sure. So I grew up in the Midwest, actually quite close to Cleveland, sort of. I'm from like Southeast Michigan, so around the Metro Detroit area. I knew of Superman sort of like any other kid. I grew up in a all pretty much mainly female household, other than my dad. So it wasn't like Superman was predominantly in my life a lot. I knew a lot of girls that had brothers and they had the action figures and all the things and all the comics. But I knew of Superman, obviously, just being a kid in America. But yeah, I think that coming into this process and into this film, I had to really up my knowledge. I'm a theater nerd by association, so I wasn't necessarily a comic book nerd, but I definitely had to learn and up my knowledge when I got the part. And it's been really kind of wonderful revisiting a lot of things from childhood, but then also discovering new things as an adult through the Superman character and the comics and all of that.
You're absolutely right about that. And in the film you're playing Fleurette. So can you walk me through how your initial audition process went for the role, as well as like how you got to know about it, as well as like your first impressions of Fleurette when you were first offered the script?
Sure. So I auditioned pretty much like everybody else. I had limited knowledge and limited availability of the script, and I think that when you do projects that are of this scale, it's pretty normal that a lot of things are kept under wraps. And so for me, when I was originally, given my sides, originally given my material to audition, I had to create a lot of circumstances myself because you don't get a lot in terms of like the world building. So when you go into audition for projects like this and things are very, very secretive, it's sort of on you as an actor to create the circumstances yourself. And then you kind of find out later way more of the depths of what it is that you're actually, playing and doing. But a lot of my instincts that I went with, that I sort of created in my audition, ended up being very accurate to what ended up becoming the part and the role of Fleurette, which is just, it goes to show you that, like, as an actor, sometimes it isn't even about your talent. It could be that you chose specifics and you chose things in your audition that were more accurate to what was going to end up being the truth of the character. So there could have been other people that did wonderful performances, but because they didn't sort of create the correct circumstances, it could have influenced the way that they acted in that audition. But so I made the right choices. I made and created the instincts that I think ended up working out really well, which was good. And then, as in terms of the full depths of the character, I can't go into based on, things still being so secretive. But yeah, it definitely ended up working out in my favor, and I sort of auditioned just like everybody else.
Yeah, and I'm so glad you got the role. Like, I think we did see, it's not officially in the trailer, but I think we did see a little snippet of you on set. I think it got leaked. And people were like, who is this girl? So, I think a lot of people are very excited to see your performance. And, speaking of the production, do you remember your first day on the set of Superman? Like, what was it like stepping onto this like massive production for the first time?
Unbelievable, to be honest. In my career has been very nonlinear since I started in the industry. I've done all sorts of things, from hosting to acting to reality television. I mean, like, so many different types of productions I've been a part of. And for me, it was a real pinch me moment that, I've always, my heart has always been with acting. I started my career in live theater. And for me, walking on set that first day and being a part of such a large scale, production in the theatrical category was incredible. I think that every actor dreams of being a part of something that's that massive, a franchise, if you will, like being a part of a Star Wars, being a part of Superman. It is a feat that not many actors will ever get the opportunity to be a part of. And so it was never lost on me, the grandeur. And I'm so honored even to this day. I think that when you work so hard and you're just in love with being a performer and being an entertainer, getting the opportunity to be a part of such a large scale production is, unbelievable. I really, I truly feel honored, and I probably will for the rest of my life, just knowing that I got to be even a small piece of something so large.
And you're absolutely right. Like Superman, it's just like once it's in your resume, like your life is made. Like Superman, it's such a huge production. So you play Lex Luthor's ex-girlfriend. I have read that in the pitch, so I have to ask you regarding what your experience was like meeting Nicholas Hoult and the wonderful James Gunn, as well as everyone affiliated with the Superman cast and crew.
For sure. I think that a lot of people, you know, you go into these interviews and you listen to other people speak about, all of these different performers, and you always sort of wonder, like, is that the truth? Are they sort of putting it on for the cameras? And I have to be the first person to say, I'm not the first person to say it, but I'll say it for myself. I mean, James Gunn is a marvel. I mean, not only is he wonderfully kind and so warm, but watching him as a performer and watching him as a creative, the art that he creates in real time and the way in which that he does it, it is something that I'm creatively inspired by outside of just being, a performer in the film. You watch him do his thing and you want to direct, you want to write, because he's so magnetic on set and just a marvel to watch, and I'm so grateful that I got to kind of witness that up close and personal. As for Nicholas Hoult, I mean, listen, I've been a fan. I was an OG fan. I started watching Nicholas Hoult when he was on Skins UK. I mean, I've been a fan for years. And so for me, watching him work, 5 feet away from me, that close, up close and personal, unbelievable. And kind to boot, which is the best. I mean, having all of these people be so lovely and so warm to you, especially as an up and coming actor. I'm not, number one on the call sheet, and having people treat you with so much respect is one thing. But man, I mean, to watch these people work is insane. To watch Nick work, I was like, I'm on set, I'm working, I'm a professional. I can't be a fan right now. I want to be a fan right now, but I can't be a fan. But just the whole time, I was like blown away. I mean, he is spectacular, spectacular talent, all the things. So if you can't tell, I'm very geeked out. I'm a fangirl of everybody pretty much. So
Oh, yeah. And it's so happy you got a fangirl moment, and Nicholas has that kind of charm. We're also, everyone here also loves him. So it's very exciting to kind of see you both together on screen. But yeah, I mean, speaking of your character, what was your creative process like for the role? Like, was there perhaps any acting ritual that helped you kind of immerse yourself into your character's mindset before the camera started rolling, like putting on the costume or like a perfume or some kind of music playlist that you were like, yeah, that's Fleurette.
absolutely, absolutely. Like I said, I started the process of sort of creating Fleurette in a way in my audition, because I didn't have a lot of understanding of the world that I was stepping into. I had to really build her out there. And then when I found out that my instincts were correct and I got to bring that to set, I was so thrilled because I didn't have to kind of recreate and reimagine. It started really, in my audition, which I filmed at home. So many of us film auditions now as self tapes. And so I got to really build that world out in my little self tape studio. And then I got to bring it to set. But the big thing, which fans will see, and it's clear in the trailer as well, the color pink is very big for me with Fleurette. Every day that I got my costume on, Fleurette wears a very strong pink dress, and there's lots of details to it that kind of point in the direction of her character as well. I called it like my cupcake dress because it felt, every time like I put it on, it felt like a pink cupcake. And so there were elements of the color pink that I really connected with strongly with the character. And then, I have different little rituals that I do on set when it comes to acting, of when I'm trying to invoke a specific emotion, and I definitely did one of those. I don't want to reveal what emotion that was until obviously people see it in theaters, and then they'll have more of a context of what that was. But I pulled and invoked a lot of that for, the feelings and the emotions of the character too. So, yeah.
I mean, we will be releasing this after, Superman releases. So if you want to talk about that emotion, we
Oh,
can.
if it's being released after the movie comes out, then we're fine. Then I can talk about that. Yeah, so for me, I have a very specific process that I use when it comes to invoking emotion in a like sad or scared or desperate way. A lot of actors, especially actors that are trained in the conservatory style of, either Uta Hagen or Stella Adler, different people use different, they use different tools in their tool belt to invoke different feelings. And for me, I'm a big one when it comes to substitution. So substitution, technically in the craft, is figuring out something or having something in your life that you've experienced personally that you can then substitute in when you're about to play the character or drop into the character, so that you can feel the feelings that you need to feel without fully being that person. And so for me, I always substitute in, just, I know it sounds quite maddening, but I substitute in trauma from my own life to be able to drop into the trauma of a character. And so the Fleurette trauma that she's experienced and is experiencing was something that I had to drop into every single day on set. There was a lot of crying, there was a lot of fear. And so for me, constantly, having to step into being a prisoner and stepping into being in a state of fear and sadness, that can be a lot for somebody. And so for me, I had to constantly be substituting things in mentally so that I could step into that place and have it feel realistic without, leaving set every day feeling super exhausted and just, yeah, in a lot of turmoil, if that makes sense. So it's challenging when you're playing a character that is in so much turmoil or distress. You have to be able to compartmentalize that, because if not, it'll definitely drive you a little crazy.
And the fact that you did that every single day, using your trauma and affiliating it with your character, this proves how amazing of an actor you are. So, you know, um, now that you have successfully played Fleurette, like, did you by any chance witness any similarities between your character in terms of your like own real life personality traits?
Sure. You'll see a trend in this film that Lex has a type, when it comes to his girlfriends. And for me, there are definitely aspects of Fleurette, her being, much more of a girly girl, her being somebody that was, her and Lex, I think when she, if I like am remembering this correctly from my script, I believe that like Lex and Fleurette were actually at like a gala at some point. And I'm definitely the kind of girl that would love to dress up. I love to go out. There are definitely similarities there. It's just it is challenging sometimes when you're playing a character that is experiencing a trauma that you've never experienced, and how you can create those circumstances and have that feel real when you don't have the real experience of being a prisoner or going through that level of fear before. So that was challenging. I can't relate to that, but aspects of Fleurette's personality and the things that she, likes and dislikes outside of being a prisoner and just being a normal girl, 100%, I feel like we're connected in that way.
And Superman is almost on the verge of releasing. Like, we're like more than 2 weeks away. So how is this kind of anticipation period going for you, knowing that people are finally about to witness your performance from such a global scale?
You know, I'm so excited. I feel, like I said, the feeling that I'm more filled with than anything is just honored and grateful. And I know that sounds, it's like an easy answer, but for me, it's very real. Knowing my history in this industry and how hard I've been working for the last decade. I feel really, really grateful. I hope that everyone loves it. I hope that it obviously goes well. I'm so ready for it to be out in the world and for us to all get to enjoy it together. But for me personally, there's so much excitement, there's so much anticipation, but overall I'm really grounded in how grateful I feel. Like I have pinch me moments every day where I'm just like, I can't believe this is happening to me. I'm just a kid from Michigan, who's always wanted to be a performer. I'm a teacher, on the side. I teach kids kindergarten through seniors in high school, musical theater and theater training. And so just the fact that I get to be a part of something like this is unbelievable. I'm beyond grateful, and that's like my overwhelming feeling.
Such a beautiful answer, and coming from such a beautiful person, I know you're about to make that mark, and people are gonna love your performance. Like, don't doubt it. I haven't even seen it myself, but I know people are gonna love it. So, for the people who are about to watch the film, like this interview will be out after Superman's release date, but still, what can the fans kind of expect from your arc in this highly anticipated film? Like, can we perhaps see you in any of the other forthcoming DC projects as well?
Well, for that, you'll have to ask James. Hopefully, and fingers crossed and knock on wood, it would be amazing to see Fleurette's return. You never know. You absolutely never know. And that would be obviously incredible. I loved working on the film, and I would love to continue to work with this character and to be back in my pink dresses. I mean, that's every actor's dream, obviously, to continue playing a character that they love. So that would be amazing. And if James wants to continue my role, that would be, an absolute dream. What fans can expect. I think that there's a lot of talk when it comes to Superman about his character, right? Like a lot of people talk about, Superman he's the epitome of goodness and what's good in the world and what's right in the world. But a lot of people miss how action packed this film is going to be. People don't want to get so hung up on, the goodness that they forget that this is absolutely an action film and that it's action packed. And so I think that having that beautiful balance between the action and the emotion, I mean, it's going to be such a great film. And as for my arc, again, I would love to see it continue. I think that in the film, obviously having to go through trauma and being a prisoner was very challenging for Fleurette. We know that her and Lex are obviously exes, but there's obviously always open opportunity for reconciliation. So who knows? I mean, we shall see.
No, we can't wait to see your performance. And James, if you're watching, we need Fleurette back. But yeah, so wrapping up, our beautiful conversation, I have to ask you, what's next for you, Paige? Like, besides Superman, is there anything else that you're working on that you'd like to tell us or your fans about?
Sure. So outside of being a performer, I also have dreams and aspirations to be a producer. And I am doing a lot of writing and developing my own projects right now, which is really exciting. And then on top of that, I'm getting married, which is really exciting. So I'm getting married at the end of July. Yeah. And, to say that this is a super summer is an understatement for me. I might show up to my wedding in a body bag with how busy I've been, but it's going to be really great. I'm really excited. Excited to start that chapter of my life as well and obviously continue working. So it's a really exciting time.